somebody who doesn't like you. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what you're doing, how nice you've been to them. They're just going to be people that you don't mesh with. And at first it's kind of intimidating, and then you just learn to deal with it. And you just have to keep being you. And that's really all there is to it. I haven't always been a fan of hugging, but I've learned to embrace it. And there's really nothing better than, you know, giving your parents a hug, and especially just knowing that it's not always going to be there. You're not always going to have that option. So I've learned to hug more. It really does make you feel better. When in doubt, cry it out. Sometimes you just, journaling isn't enough. Sometimes talking to your friend isn't enough. Sometimes you just need to let it all out. Whatever you're feeling, even if you don't know what you're feeling, just cry it out. A lot of time with your grandparents. You just, honestly, you never know how long you're gonna have with them. Most of my grandparents have passed away now, and some of my greatest memories of my childhood happened with them. And I mean, being older now, I wish I would have been able to ask them more questions, and being a journalism major, I wish I would have been able to, you know, tell their stories and get to know them on a deeper, more personal level. So if you still have your grandparents right now, ask them questions. If you don't know what to ask, Google some. Just get to know them on a deeper level. Ask about their childhoods, maybe what it was like with when your parents were growing up, you know, how they raised them, and some of the more challenging tasks of being a parent. Or even, it sounds cliche, but when you're in high school or any school, college, junior high, do as much as you can. Get involved with clubs, hang out with your friends, and just be a kid. Allow yourself to be a kid. Sometimes I felt like I was an 80-year-old at 13, planning my life away and just waiting for the future. And one thing I would tell myself is to, you know, if I could go back, I would definitely push myself to hang out with my friends more. Because you just always think they're going to be around, you know. You say best friends forever, but that doesn't always mean forever. And so you just have to take what time with people that you can. But just be young and go out and do your thing with your friends, because someday, and there will be a someday, I'm finding out that, you know, people move away, they move out of state, they get jobs, and it's just hard to stay in contact with people. So just take your time. What I've learned is that sometimes you just need to take time for yourself, and to, whether it's taking 5 minutes to, you know, chat with a friend, or maybe it's watching an episode of your favorite show, or reading a few chapters of a good book that you just started. Whatever it is that helps you unwind or, you know, feel relaxed, do it. You know, if you get home from work and you're just boggled down, but you still have, you know, a list of chores to do, or, you know, you get home from school and you have a ton of homework, but you're just wiped out, you know, take a shower, read a good book, just take time for you and whatever it means to relax. Get a job as soon as you can. I didn't. I waited and focused on school, but now I feel like I'm playing catch up, and I'm having to save all this money now that I wish I would have started saving even earlier, whether it was just a few dollars here and there. So yeah, I would just say get work experience as early as you can, because school is great, and that background looks great on resumes and stuff, but being out in the real world and working with real people and doing that from a younger age, looks really good to people. Being in a relationship is seriously not the most important thing. I know society and our friends make it seem like it's everything, and I mean, sometimes you do wish you had someone, but for the most part, life's just an adventure. Enjoy the moments when you're by yourself, with your friends, with your family, and being single gives you time to explore those things a little bit more. You get to enjoy your passions and stuff, and honestly, I think you find love when you're doing the things that you love. So find your passion, and I think love will come to you. Pay attention to details. You know, my aunt used to always tell me this when I was working on my math homework with her, when I was like carrying out the problem, and she would tell me to make sure that I did this or that, and she said that I could apply that to all areas of my life. And I thought, yeah, sure, whatever. And as a journalist now, checking my stories, making sure that the facts are correct, all of these things, or, you know, even just paying attention to the details in my family and friends' lives are important. So details matter, and paying close attention just shows that you care. I can't really stress this one enough, and it's something that I'm still working on and trying to find out myself, but lately, as I've been continuing to write for all these publications and doing it as a career now, I found that you need to have a hobby outside of your career, because most of the time your hobbies and passions become your career. But what do you do outside of that? You know, writing has always been my thing, my go-to thing, whether it was in school or now work. And then I would sit here and write journals and blogs and stories, and I love it, I do, but sometimes it just stresses me out and it's overkill, and I need time to let my brain breathe and my fingers rest a little. So I'm trying to find a hobby outside of writing, like cooking, or maybe scrapbooking, or just getting into arts and crafts, or just trying to look into something that's other than writing, but will still let me express my creativity somehow. Document your life. If there's one thing, and I've learned a lot of things, but if there's one real thing I've learned, it's just to, you know, share moments with people that you love. You know, now we have Facebook and Twitter, and that's great, but have those personal things, you know, those quiet moments with your parents, or that conversation that you had right before you got your first kiss, or, you know, private moments. You know, put them in a journal, or in a shoebox with like little papers written down, or, you know, random stuff. Make videos, take pictures, just something that years from now you can look back on and go, hey, this happened. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the middle of something, or my parents will bring up something that happened years ago, and I'm like, hey, there's probably a journal for that, and I can look back and go, hey, this is what happened. And I have those accounts and those details to bring to the table. So it's kind of fun to just reminisce on who you were back then, and what your dreams were, how they've changed, or how they've come true. Don't be afraid to act like a goofball. This is one that takes me a little longer to get into, because I'm easily embarrassed when somebody's talking louder than the rest of the group, or when someone's kind of causing a scene because they're laughing too hard or whatever, just acting crazy. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, can you stop, if I'm with them. And you know what, I've learned that it is better to just let loose. You know, Amy Poehler has a quote about something about there's power in looking silly and not caring that you do, and she's right. You know, we should allow ourselves to act crazy, and in those moments you're just carefree, and you don't care about anything else, and it's just a lot more fun that way. Do the things that scare you. Most of the time, the greatest moments I've had have come from doing the things that terrify me, and I think a lot of people can testify to that. But most of the things that we want the most in life are the things that scare us the most, and so you just have to kind of put that fear out of your mind, go for it. If it works out, it works out, and it could take you to some crazy places, and if not, well, then you just have to carry on from there. But at least you have a cool story, and you just never know. Get outside more. I know at this day and age it's really hard because we're all glued to our computers and glued to our screens, but there's so much beauty outside, whether it's sitting in your backyard or on your front porch, or going for a hike, or swimming in the pool. You know, there's so many beautiful places around, and when we're busy stuck to our screens, it's hard to see what's around us, and that's always where I feel closest to God. So I love getting outside more, and just kind of, it's so peaceful, so I really enjoy that, and you should get outside more. Everything that happens to you is for a reason. I truly believe that, and I think it's important to find the silver lining in everything. You know, whether it was a bad breakup, whether it was the loss of a friend, maybe you failed a test, maybe you lost your job, whatever. There are a million different reasons that things don't work out in life, but it all happens for a reason, and God has an ultimate plan and design for it. And, you know, you just have to, it sounds cliche, but you just have to get through it to see that thing. And you might never know what it is, but you just have to believe and keep hoping that God has this ultimate plan and something out there that's better for you. So just find the silver lining. I don't think it gets much better than just cranking up the tunes and driving around town, wherever you are. My family's always been big on just driving around our town, listening to music. Sometimes we'll grab dessert and we'll just talk and laugh, and those are some of the greatest memories that I have with my parents and just in general. I love just getting out and seeing different parts of town that I might not normally see or get to on a daily basis, and it's just a fun time to kind of get away from our normal daily life and just relax. And while country music is my music of choice, I listen to pretty much anything. So sometimes it'll be 80s hits or classics. You know, you just gotta let loose a little. You can plan all you want, and it's great to plan ahead. Trust me, I'm a planner. But when it comes down to it, just let life happen. You know, allow God to do what He's gonna do through you. And if you're constantly planning and trying to force things and work things out for yourself, it's never gonna happen. So just learn to, you know, make your plans, pray about them, and see what happens after that. Life's an adventure. A negative attitude really isn't going to get you anywhere in life. Trust me, I would have the worst attitude when I was a teen, you know, that typical teen angst stuff, but it always just made the situation worse. I was constantly stressed and full of anxiety and worrying about tests and the future, and it just got me nowhere. And I'm not always Miss Positivity, you know, I have my negative moments, but learning to accept things the way they are and just slapping a smile on your face sometimes, it really helps the situation. Take naps. I'm not a good nap taker, but I hear friends that are like, oh, I fell asleep for a little while and it was great and I feel so much better now. Yeah, I wish I could be like that, but you know, it is good to rest at least. You know, if you're not going to take a full nap, at least like close your eyes for a little bit, just turn the lights out, no music, no nothing. Peyton Sawyer was right on One Tree Hill when she said people always leave. They do. That's true. You know, people are always going to come and go in your life. And that's one thing I've had a hard time accepting, because I get attached to people. You know, I want to give them my all, and I want to help them in any way I can, and I want to be the best friend ever. But sometimes people just don't match that, or they leave and just don't, you know, things change. And I've just learned to accept that and to know that God's always there, and that you just hold on to those relationships that have lasted and the people that have been there even longer or more. Sometimes you just kind of need to veg out a little bit and without doing anything. This kind of goes along with taking care of yourself, but this is just about getting enough rest. Sometimes we go to bed too late as college students and 20-somethings, and you need rest. And so now that I'm out of school and don't have to necessarily pull those all-nighters anymore, I'm trying to take more time to get more sleep. So taking naps might be in my future. And finally, everything really does work out. This kind of goes back to the silver lining thing. Yes, those junior high days are awful, and so is high school, but then it gets a little bit better, and college is where you really find yourself and just get to discover so many things about you that you never knew. And I have to believe now that even though things are kind of shaky and rough right now, that they're going to get better, and you know, I'm going to have the life that I've always dreamed of someday. and that God has planned for me. So that's what I've learned since, well, 1992. So hopefully you learn a few things too.